My name is Shanae Matthews, and in my presentation, I will be answering the question, in what ways has privilege been displayed in the characters of Moonlight, specifically Sharon, Juan, and Kevin, and how has the closet concept been depicted or obstructed by male privilege in the film Moonlight? The film Moonlight is a prime example of heterosexual male privilege and the concept that as a Black young man living in the South, Sharon is not afforded the comfort of the closet, while his love interest, Kevin, is able to find comfort in the closet concept because he is effortlessly conformed to heteronormative stereotypes. The film also explores the idea of heterosexual male privilege in Juan, Sharon's childhood mentor and friend, who is able to function comfortably in society and provide protection for Sharon, who was forced out of the comfort of the closet at a young age. In this film, I will also be tackling how privilege plays a role in the closet concept for Black men in the film Moonlight. Some of the theories and concepts that I will be using in this presentation are Privilege by Marlon R. Ross and the Closet Concept by Devin W. Carbado. What is the closet? How does one define the closet? Foucault defines the closet as the secret identity that always gives itself away because it is disclosed with the autonomy itself. Sedgwick's closet theory definition depends on the uneven development of the races and points out a specific kind of heterosexual. Marlon R. Ross argues that white queer theory has a fixation on the closet concept and that they overlook the effect of race and class on the closet concept. The closet does not function in the same way for Black people as it does for white people. Some Black queer people are not offered the subtle comforts of the closet concept. Ross says that their body or their mannerisms, often noticed by others, lumps them into a group, and Robin Wingman explains that appearance, race specifically as a category, determines how you are treated. This creates what Ross calls the open secret. Sharon is played by Ashton Sanders, Alex R. Hibbert, and Trevante Rhodes. Does Sharon have privilege? In the film, Sharon does not have much privilege. He is depicted as a young Black queer man, raised by a mother who is a struggling drug addict. He is limited by race, class, and especially sexuality. He is outed at a young age for acting differently and given the nickname Little because of his size and quiet disposition. Coming out requires you to decide or state what you are or are not. But Sharon did not get this chance. His sexuality was essentially defined for him. He is not afforded the comfort of the closet. Instead, he is bullied for his clothing, his size, and essentially anything that the children at school could think of. In Sharon's case, his love interest, Kevin, came out to him personally, showing that they were the same, but he still beat him up. Ross also highlights the idea that coming out can become a distracting act because a person's essence does not change. They just change how they present themselves to others. Sometimes they are expected to do more. In Sharon's case, he expected Kevin to support him now after their sexual exchange at the beach. However, Kevin made it clear when beating up Sharon that his own protection was more important than supporting Sharon. In that instance, he was not an ally. Where does Sharon find comfort? Sharon meets his mentor, Juan, when he is hiding from some bullies in the first chapter of the movie. Juan, a heterosexual drug dealer in the community who seeks to help Sharon and provide a source of stability for him. Juan is played by Mahershala Ali. Does Juan have privilege? Juan does not have privilege based on his race or class, but he does have privilege based on his gender and sexuality in the community. Juan was clearly not wealthy, but his job as a drug dealer allowed for him to provide a stable environment for him and his wife. Ross reminds us that an African American man is sexually deviant because of his racial differ. His privilege and outward appearance that aligned with heteronormative standards allowed for him to walk through life in a way that Sharon could not. Black male heterosexuality is closer to white male heterosexual normalcy and normativity than is Black gay sexuality. His identity is overdetermined by his gender. He is the norm, the baseline, our reference. This outward masculinity allowed for him to be respected, valued, and able to extend his protection and security to Sharon whenever he was in his presence. Sharon felt comfortable enough to let his guard down a bit more with Juan because he and his wife created a safe space for him. This space was much different from the space that Sharon was used to with his mother and at school, because at school and at home, his identity had a negative social meaning. Unfortunately, that safety was quickly removed when Juan passed away. Men maintained their gender privilege, in this case, Sharon's comfort, through their daily actions. Kevin, Sharon's love interest, is played by Jarrell Jerome and Jaden Piner. Does Kevin have privilege, action, and security to Sharon whenever he was in his presence? Sharon felt comfortable enough to let his guard down a bit more with Juan because he and his wife created a safe space for him. This space was much different from the space that Sharon was used to with his mother and at school, because at school and at home, his identity had a negative social meaning. Unfortunately, that safety was quickly removed when Juan passed away. Men maintained their gender privilege, in this case, Sharon's comfort, through their daily actions. Kevin, Sharon's love interest, is played by Jarrell Jerome and Jaden Piner. Does Kevin have privilege? Yes, Kevin has the privilege of remaining in the closet throughout the movie. Kevin only comes out of the closet when it appears safe and uses his heterosexual appearance to his advantage. We see Kevin use this to his advantage when Sharon's bullies encourage him to fight Sharon. Kevin remains in the closet because he knows that he could be treated just like Sharon. Kevin is a prime example of a lot of gay men in our society. They choose to protect themselves and remain in the closet rather than be an ally to someone else in the LGBTQ community. Carbato reminds us that people who stand by and watch continue the discrimination. His race and class essentially limit him from being himself. He is not white, so he's already labeled as a deviant. White people do not have to worry about employing these strategies because they are beneficiaries of patriarchy. As a result, if he were to come out, Kevin would lose the privileges that come with being a heterosexual male. Because Kevin is already limited by his race and class, he chooses to play the role of heterosexual male and remain in the closet. In these examples, we see the effects of privilege, both positive and negative, for Black men depicted in the film Moonlight. This film has many underlying meanings and would be beneficial for everyone studying Black queer theory.
Remember the last time I saw you?
For a long time, try not to remember.
That's all I can do to do it, folks. Thought I should be doing.